Hello, everyone. I'm Reverend Keith Walbolt from Lutheran Church of the Good Shepherd, and I'm one of two co-chairs of FAST. As you know by now, we were not able to have a Nehemiah Action this year because of concerns about COVID-19. But some of our denominational leaders who were going to be at the action have shared with us some words of encouragement, and we've compiled a video of their statements for you to watch. But first, let's begin with a word of prayer. Eternal One, in times of challenge, we give thanks to you for community, for our neighbors around us. We give you thanks for the gifts brought by all of your people. Help us to be mindful of those around us in need at this time, and help us to hear again and again your call to do justice. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
I'm Bishop Gregory Parks of the Catholic Diocese of St. Petersburg. I was looking forward to joining you and offering an opening reflection at the FAST Nehemiah Action this year. Now that we're no longer gathering in person in order to help stop the spread of the coronavirus, I was asked to share some remarks by video. In the Gospel according to Luke, Jesus began his public life and ministry by reading a passage from the prophet Isaiah. This passage indicated the focus of Jesus' ministry, and it shows us what the focus of our ministry and mission should be today. Namely, that we are to bring good news to the poor, bring liberty to captives, bring new sight to the blind, and to set the downtrodden free. Throughout Jesus' ministry, his concern was standing up for the poor and vulnerable. In all of Jesus' travels, who did he spend most of his time with? Not the rich and the powerful, but with the poor and the vulnerable. Right now, during the coronavirus, we're all coming together to protect the vulnerable in our community. That's why we canceled our Nehemiah Action and have canceled many other important congregational and community gatherings in order to protect the vulnerable in our community from getting infected. I'm very proud of how our community is coming together in this crisis for the good of all. We must remember that Jesus calls on us to stand up for the poor and vulnerable all of the time, not just during a pandemic or crisis. Before this pandemic, there were 70,000 families in Pinellas County who were one paycheck away from homelessness. That number is going to continue to grow. When this pandemic is over, we'll have even more families in our community who need jobs, housing and health care. The words of Isaiah and Jesus challenge us to prepare for how our community will bring good news to these families. How will we break the cycles of debt and incarceration that keep people captive in our community? Jesus focused not just on personally reaching out to those in need, but he also challenged systems in the community to prioritize the needs of the poor and vulnerable. We recall how when Jesus went into the temple area, he turned over the tables of the money changers, thus challenging a community that prioritized money and profit. We also know that Jesus healed on the Sabbath in public. Did he take the sick person into a private room to heal them? No. He healed in public in front of a crowd of people to challenge the unjust laws of a community which did not prioritize the needs of the poor and sick. Everywhere he went during his public life, Jesus confronted the powerful and stood up for the needs of the poor. How do we bring good news to the poor in our community? We do what we can to address these problems through our mercy and charitable efforts. We have built homeless shelters, provide food pantries, tutoring programs, and minister to those in jail. These are important mercy ministries of our congregations. But mercy efforts to help individuals in need are not enough. We also have to address the systems which are causing families to be in need. As Micah tells us in Scripture, and as Jesus reiterates in Matthew 23, we are required to do justice. We must stand up and take action together to ensure that the systems in our community prioritize the needs of the poor and vulnerable. In his encyclical letter, Charity and Truth, Pope Benedict says this: I cannot give what is mine to the other without first giving him what pertains to him in justice. If we love others with charity, then first of all, we are just toward them. Not only is justice not extraneous to charity, not only is it an alternative or parallel path to charity, justice is inseparable from charity and intrinsic to it. As people of faith, we must show and live our faith through action. Our congregations are called to stand with the poor and vulnerable against the strong and powerful. This may result in occasional controversy and conflict, but it also brings life and vitality to the people of God. It is a sign of our faithfulness to the gospel. FAST is a ministry that brings 40 diverse congregations together to live out our call to do justice in Pinellas County. FAST congregations have brought together 2,500 people at the annual Nehemiah Action every year for the last decade. Each year, this is a miraculous event where people put aside their differences and stand together. When I attended the FAST Nehemiah Action, I felt a great deal of solidarity and support in the large crowd that gathered. Because of the work of FAST, rather than spending our penny for Pinellas tax money on more bridges and palm trees, our county agreed to set aside 4% for affordable housing. Initial projects show this could create as much as 7,000 new units of affordable housing over the next 10 years. This is a huge step forward, and it only happened because of all of you who take time each year to show up at the Nehemiah Assembly and put your faith into action. Through FAST, our justice ministries don't just win commitments, but we monitor and make sure that officials follow through. This year, the FAST Affordable Housing Committee has been closely monitoring how Penny for Pinellas funds will be spent. We believe that affordable housing money should be spent to create housing for families who make less than $50,000 per year. We have concerns because in the past we've seen municipalities use funding set aside for affordable housing to create housing for families who make $80,000 per year. While a family who makes $80,000 may be struggling, clearly a family making less than $50,000 will have even greater struggles. Our community must prioritize the needs of families who make less than $50,000 per year. And so even though we can't come together at the Nehemiah Action this year, as we have in years past, we continue to call on our county and cities to ensure that affordable housing money is spent to create housing for the families who are most in need in our community. As part of our Courageously Living the Gospel initiative, the Diocese of St. Petersburg has committed to help address affordable housing needs. Our goal is to build 8 to 10 new locations of affordable housing across the 5 counties that we serve, including some here in the Tampa Bay area. But the county and municipalities need to do their part as well. It will be a complete injustice if the affordable housing money is steered to families who make $80,000 per year and not focused on those who are most in need in our community. The Pinellas County Administrator, Barry Burton, had committed to be at the FAST Nehemiah Action this year. Since he will not be gathering together, we sent him our concerns in writing. I ask you to please keep Mr. Burton in your prayers. And please also keep in your prayers all of the families who are struggling to afford housing. As people of faith, we know that if we work together, we can create a community where every family has a safe place to live, and where no family has to cut back on food and medicine in order to pay the rent this month. We look forward to coming together with Mr. Burton at some point in the future to celebrate as funds get allocated and ground is broken on new units of affordable housing for families who are most in need. How do we stand? We stand fast together.
Greetings from the St. John Progressive Missionary Baptist Church here in Tampa, Florida. I'm Reverend Bartholomew Banks, Senior Pastor for the last 29 years. We're delighted to be a part of the Nehemiah Actions that have taken place for the last 10 years that I've had an opportunity to attend. And I'm impressed to see so many of our missionary Baptist churches who are members of the Progressive Remedy Baptist State Convention of Florida, standing with other congregations to do justice to our community. All of the DART organizations throughout Florida are providing our congregations with ways they can live out God's call to do justice. We had a serious problem in Florida with arresting our children for minor childish mistakes. Proportionately, Florida led the country in arresting our children. Once these children get arrested, they are branded for life with a criminal record. It becomes hard for them to get jobs, to get college scholarships. Some of them even have difficulty getting into the military. Our faith teaches us about redemption and forgiveness, but our state isn't practicing that with our children. I'm going to share with you some of the things our children get arrested for, and I want you to think about your own childhood. Think about if you ever did any of these things when you were a child. Did you ever get into a neighbor's yard to retrieve a ball? Did you ever get into a shoving match with another child at school? Did you ever steal a keychain or a candy bar from the corner store? Did you ever drink alcohol when you were under 18? These are the minor offenses that our children in Florida get arrested for. However, the 11 DART justice organizations in Florida worked hard together, demanding that our state offer a new way to deal with misbehaving children without branding them for life with criminal records. The Civil Citation Program holds children accountable for misbehavior and helps them make better choices without giving them criminal records. Because of the work of FAST and other DART organizations of Florida, 23,000 fewer children in Florida were arrested over the last 5 years. This saved the state over $104 million. In 2018, we got a bill passed by the Florida legislature that requires law enforcement to give reasons in writing if they decide to arrest a child who could receive a civil citation. A few months ago, we finally received the data from the Department of Juvenile Justice. In the last year, there were 5,000 children who were arrested instead of being offered a civil citation. And the reason given as to why they were arrested was, quote unquote, no reason given. No reason given is not a reason, and it violates the law that we passed, but the Department of Juvenile Justice has set up a computerized system that not only allows but encourages law enforcement to list this as the reason. This is unacceptable. Even though we are not meeting face to face right now, we will take action on this important topic. Please stay in touch with your congregation's justice ministry to receive information on action steps you can take from your home. In light of COVID-19, many municipalities are realizing that the need to do something about overcrowded jails is upon them. Now is especially not the right time to be arresting children or adults for minor offenses. Together, we will take action and ensure that our biblical values of love and forgiveness are lived out in the state of Florida. Thank you so very much for leading the way for our community. God bless your continued efforts.
Shalom, I'm Rabbi Michael Torop, serving the congregation at Temple Beth-El and currently the president of the Pinellas County Board of Rabbis. I also co-chair FAST Criminal Justice and Mental Health Issue Committee. One iconic image that resonates throughout the Jewish community is that of Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, marching side by side with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in Selma in 1965. At FAST, we have learned from the religious partnerships forged during the Civil Rights Movement, and we know that we have to walk together, not merely to respond to the call of the prophet Micah in chapter 6, verse 8, to do justice, but as Jewish tradition teaches us, to be rodef tzedek, one who pursues justice. King and Heschel walked together arm in arm to confront evil with justice, falsehood with truth, racism with equality. When he got home, Rabbi Heschel said, "When I marched in Selma, I felt as if my feet were praying." My feet were praying. We can pray in our hearts. We can pray with our lips. We can pray in song. But we can pray with our hands and we can pray with our feet. For it is with our feet treading the ground, standing up with the power of the people to hold those in power accountable, running to pursue justice, that we respond to the urgency of now. When I agreed to co-chair this committee, it was born out of a passion about the inadequate state of our mental health system in Pinellas County. Out of anger at the revolving doors on locked wards where far too many people were involuntarily committed under the Baker Act. Frustration that mental illness was something our government, our healthcare system, our community was ignoring at our peril. And deeply troubled that the stigma associated with mental illness prevents so many from seeking treatment today. Today, I speak to you personally of my own experiences this past fall, when my lifelong battle with depression became an acute mental health crisis. Today, I am incredibly grateful and feel particularly fortunate to be here. 1 in 5 adults in Pinellas County suffer from mental illnesses. Nationally, only 40% of Americans with mental illness were able to access treatment of any kind last year. I was lucky to become one of those 40%. Why? Because I have health insurance that covered the high-quality inpatient and intensive outpatient treatment I needed. When my acute crisis developed, I was able to be on a medical leave of absence from work to take care of myself. And I had the support of family and friends, and I am filled with gratitude, for without them all, I would not be here today sharing my story. Still, I am frustrated on behalf of the other 60% in our country who don't get treatment. Our souls are formed by the breath of life that God implants within us. Our souls, our hearts, our minds are no more free of illness than our bodies. And every single person, every single resident of Pinellas County has a right to high quality, timely, and appropriate mental health care. People shouldn't have to call through dozens of places to get help, or only to be told that spots are full or they don't qualify. That is why at last year's Nehemiah Action, we asked our county administrator and influential providers and a key foundation to create a central pathway for behavioral health services. A central pathway is just a fancy way of saying that everyone has one easy way to get access to the help they need. As the public health crisis of the coronavirus pandemic progresses, access to behavioral health care will be even more critical. As our world gets more stressful, those of us who struggle with anxiety, depression, and other mental illnesses will need even more support. Because of the work of FAST, our county is in the process of creating a plan to solve our behavioral health crisis. Over the next few months, we must be following up to make sure that whatever plan they choose includes one coordinated and central pathway for all of us to get access to the help we need. To do that, we need everyone to stay with us in this work. In the coming weeks, we'll be in touch about how you can help us continue the important work to create better mental health services in Pinellas County. But in addition to your time, it's important that we all continue to support this work with our financial resources. Usually we launch our annual investment drive at our rally, which was supposed to be held on March 12th. We always encourage everyone who can to invest $200 to support our joint work for justice in Pinellas County. As our community responds to and recovers from coronavirus, the need for affordable housing, access to jobs, and healthcare is going to be even greater. It will be more important than ever that FAST remains a strong organization where we can have a powerful voice to help shape how our community takes care of those in need. Personally, this year, I am increasing my investment by 10%. I'm doing this because I feel the urgency of pursuing justice, of continuing to build our strength and our vitality as a powerful and respected voice in our community, one that speaks up for the silent, the oppressed, speaks up for justice and for equality. I challenge every network member to try and do the same, to increase your investment by 10%. Those that would like to invest can call your team leader or mail a check to the FAST office or go onto our website, fast-pinellas.org, where you can make your investment. We may not have been able to hold our public rally or our Nehemiah Action this year, but an ancient sage taught, Lo alecha hamlaka ligmor, it is not incumbent upon you to finish the work, but neither are we free to stop doing it, to stop repairing, to stop shouting, to stop pursuing justice, for this is what God demands of each of us. It might take us a little more time than we wanted and hoped. It might take us shouting louder than we wanted, but we will keep on working until we see justice in our community. As MLK said, let us realize the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Our pursuit may be a marathon, but we will remain united, strong, and we will lean on each other and bend that arc to make Pinellas County the most just place on earth.